Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I have a very exciting comparison to share. So I was at eBay and I've been seeing around these vintage watercolor boxes like from early 20th century or like mid 20th century, and I'm just kind of fascinated by them. So I decided to go to eBay and see what I could find, if I could find an interesting vintage watercolor box to review and try the paints. So I actually came across this amazing Prang watercolor box from the 1960s. At least that's what it said in the description. And this is a an old or new old stock vintage. So what it means is that it is original from the 1960s, but it is unused. So it's a brand new set of Prang watercolor paints from the 1960s, never used. It is in pristine condition. It's just gorgeous. I love the tin. I actually love to use Prang watercolors, and I've been using them for a couple of years. I bought this one, I think it was 2017 or 2016. And I've been using it a lot for practicing, just to practice my brush strokes, practice like hand lettering and like values, tone, and things like that, where you don't want to use expensive paints and you just want to, play around with the paint, see what you can do, try to get the tones right, and, practice in general. So these are great for that. Of course, they're scholastic grade, so they're not professional grade. They don't granulate like Daniel Smith does, or, they don't layer like Schminke, but they do layer quite well given the price. This one is a plastic case, obviously, because it's newer from the century, and it cost me about $3.50, I want to say. I bought it at Michael's with a coupon, and I mean, it's a very sturdy box. It's actually a very nice box. I like it. It has really good mixing wells, very deep mixing wells, and I mean, as you can see, I've used the paint quite a bit. It is very clean though, because I do keep all my palettes super clean because I'm a little OCD. So after I'm done painting, I clean them all, so they look nice again when I'm going to use them. And the Prang watercolors from the 1960s, consider this is at least 50 years old. We're in 2018 right now. And how amazing does that look? It's just shiny and perfect. No scratches or anything. I don't know how they kept this so well for so long. And I love this case. It's so gorgeous. It's metal enameled. It has very nice mixing wells as well. And I mean, enameled finishes, it's better for mixing. They clean up better than plastic for sure. So it feels like much higher quality than the new Prang. And the color selection though is exactly the same. So if you look, it's actually, I actually organized them the same way that I like the colors organized. I like to go from yellow to like dark. So you have yellow, orange, red, purple, blue, green, brown, and black. Actually, these are not organized exactly the same, but they look very similar, like the finish, how these are semi-moist watercolors. So they have kind of a sheen to them. And the old ones have the same type of sheen. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. So I'm very curious to compare them side by side to see if they've changed, if the colors lay out differently, if they layer differently, if they mix differently. I'm just very, very curious. Just looking at the palettes, the orange in the 1960s palette looks a lot brighter than the current orange. The yellow looks the same about. The red looks a little deeper, at least from this angle it does. The blue looks a little different than the current blue. So I'm just very curious to try it out. So we'll see it. I laid out here a little mixing or a little chart to kind of swatch them out. And we'll do that in a second. I also wanted to compare the brushes. So both sets come with a brush. The set from like currently from like 2016, 2017, came with this little brush. It says number 6 Prang. I don't know if you can see that. It's a very tiny brush. It's a synthetic. It's not terrible. It doesn't hold a point though very well. So it's not like the best brush, but it's usable. We can definitely use it. And the 1960s brush is much thicker. It says number 7. So this is a slightly bigger. It is much bigger than the current brush though. I mean, that's the 7 and that's the 6. Yeah, I don't know about those sizes, but the hairs feel different. I think they might be like a mix of natural hairs and synthetic. I'm not sure. It feels really rough, the hairs. Actually, there's a stray hair there, so I think I'm gonna cut that. I'm just gonna cut that off so that the point is better. I actually haven't even used this brush yet, so maybe I'll try it out when we're swatching. We'll see. And I mean, I just love the old 1960s tin. It is thinner. Look at the current tin versus the old tin. This is so much thinner than the current tin. It's lighter. Like, it's just so nice to hold. And it's very similar to the tins of the more expensive watercolors that you see these days. So this is a Schminke tin. It is very similar like finish. You see the mixing wells, very similar material, very similar thickness to that. Obviously this has an additional mixing area that this one doesn't, but this is plenty of mixing area, at least for me. But this is much thinner than a regular, one of these regular palettes. So look at that, that's so much thinner. So it's very nice for traveling and carrying around. It doesn't have these metal holders, so it's less heavy. The pans, they're actually kind of square pans, so they look very much like the half pans. So let's take out one of these half pans from my Schminke set. And I mean, it's a much bigger pan size in terms of how thick it is. I mean, it's a little thinner, but given that it has so much more surface area, it holds a lot of paint. So that's great. So if you actually got one of these vintage tins and you used up the paint, you can fill it up with your nicer paint, and you have a really good amount of paint here. And in a very compact, nice travel palette, that's very similar to the more expensive palettes. And just to compare I wanted to compare the pans with the current pans of Prang. So this is the current pans. They come in kind of ovals like that. So if you compare the square with the oval, it's hard to compare, but it kind of looks like the square might be slightly smaller, but not much smaller. And they're about the same thickness. So if you actually compare the thickness, they're about the same. So I would say it's roughly the same amount of paint that comes. Maybe you get more paint nowadays, which is interesting, right? You would think it would be the opposite. So that's that. And also just looking at the manufacturing information here, the current Prang says it's a Dixon Ticonderoga company made in Mexico. So this is made in Mexico. And this one, I think it said made in America, if I'm not mistaken. At least the brush says made in USA. So they definitely changed, I think, the manufacturing of this. So it's probably made in the US before, and they moved, see here it is, made in USA. So they probably moved the manufacturing to Mexico in the last 50 years. I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects the quality of the paint and just how it lays out. So I'm going to swatch these out. I'm just going to make sure that these are in the same order so I don't mess up my swatches. as I have before. So I'm just gonna move these around. And this is the great part about these palettes. You can move your colors around. So here we go. Now they're exactly the same. So I'm actually gonna try to swatch these out with this brush. I don't know. Let's see how this brush looks. I mean, it has some sort of point, but it holds a lot of water. I can feel it. That's really interesting. Okay, so let's try. It does shed a lot though. I'm seeing hairs everywhere. So let's, oh my God, I'm using this 1960s Prang set for the first time since in 50 years. It's crazy. Oh wow, this brush sheds like crazy. You know what? I'm not gonna use it for swatching. I'm gonna use a different brush because we're doing a Scholastic grade comparison here. I'm gonna use a Scholastic brush. So I'm actually gonna use a Crayola brush. These Crayola brushes are actually excellent for practicing. They're so cheap. You can get a set of like 4 at Walmart or Michael's for between $3.50 to $5, depending. And if you have a coupon, you can get it for less. So these are actually great for swatching. So I'm actually gonna swatch this out. I'm gonna swatch out the yellow first. Interesting. So what I did here, I put a black line just to see how opaque it is. And then I'm gonna put clean water in the bottom to let it move around, just to see the difference in how opaque it is when it's heavier, you know, when you lay it down heavier than when it's more watered down. I don't know if that makes sense. So I'm gonna swatch the orange. Yeah, the orange, I was never a fan of the Prang orange, I have to say. It's kind of this blah orange. I don't use it that much. As you can tell, I don't use it that much. I use the blue a lot, the red, the green, and the yellow, and the black. Actually, the black, I love the Prang black. But I don't use the orange that much. I'm gonna move my water cup over here because I'm, okay, oops, put my brush in the wrong paint. Okay, here's the red. Ooh, I like that. Really vibrant, beautiful red. It's kind of like, I don't know, like a alizarin crimson almost kind of red. Oh, and it flows. That's a beautiful red. That is a beautiful red. All right, and this is, I think, I don't know what this is. I'm gonna try it out in another piece of paper. Oh, this is the purple. I actually had it, yeah, so I'm good. This is the purple. They're so dark that you can't tell, like I can't tell what color it is. That's a really pretty purple. It's really dark. They're very pigmented, very vibrant still. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest, from like 1960s. I don't know if their formulation changed or, you know, you just never know. But they lay down really similar to the current Prang. This blue is beautiful. Oh my God, it's beautiful. It's like a phthalo blue. It is really nicely pigmented. It looks like it's very staining. This is the green. Not bad. And my water's getting dirty, so I'm gonna have to change it, I think. Soon. This is the brown. This might be similar to maybe, I don't know, burnt umber or something. I don't know. It's a very scholastic looking brown. And the black, oh my God, this black is gorgeous. It's just so amazing, and like it lays down so dark, and it's just so amazing, that black. It's like, I don't use black a lot of watercolors. I know a lot of artists don't either, but I do use it sometimes. And this black is lovely. Sometimes I mix it with more expensive paints. So there you go. That's the 1960s Prang. And I'm gonna actually swatch the current Prang, and I'm gonna pause the video and come back just so to speed it up a little bit, and then I'm gonna do some color mixing for both, and we'll see that in a second. Okay, we're back. So I actually swatched out all the new Prang colors, and wow, can you tell the difference? They definitely changed the formula from between the 1960s and now. Look at the red, I think, is one of the biggest differences, and the blue. The red was so vibrant back in the 60s. It was so beautiful and just translucent and luminous. And the red nowadays it's a lot more muted. So much more muted. And it does granulate though. If you can tell here, it's granulating a little bit, which is interesting. The red back in the 1960s didn't granulate at all. And the purple, it's also very different. It's a little more cooler. I think it's a little cooler now than it used to be. It used to be a little warmer. The blue was so vibrant in the 1960s. The blue now is just a lot muted, more muted as well. So I don't know what they did to the formulas, but they definitely changed. The orange is a lot more muted now than it used to be. The yellow, I would say, is kind of similar, although I don't know if you can tell in the camera, the one from the 1960s is a bit more vibrant and has a little more character than the one now. It seems more pigmented. The green, similar. It's a little flatter. It just doesn't flow as well. It's a little flatter now. The brown is also a little flatter. The black is very similar, although the black now it's a little bit warmer. Just a tad warmer than the black back in the 60s was a lot more neutral, very gray. This has a little bit of a brown undertone. I didn't realize that until I just looked at it now. So that's really interesting. So overall, the paints from the 1960s, I'm liking them a lot more. They're a lot more vibrant. They're more pigmented. They just have more character, and they just pop more. So I don't know. I guess Dixon Ticonderoga is the manufacturer of what you did to this, but you should go back to your old formula. They were so much better. Actually, I just wanted to do a little mixing too, just before we finish this review. I just wanted to see what kind of colors we can get by mixing some of the primaries. So I'm gonna do just a little bit of a color mixing chart here. Well, not a color mixing chart, but a color wheel. That's what I wanted to say. So I'm gonna just do a little bit of all the primary colors. I'm gonna mix this red here with the yellow, and just gonna put a little more yellow here. Yeah, so vibrant. I have to say, I'm so happy I bought these. I actually forgot to mention the price of these. The price from the 1960s for the 1960s Prang set was about $20 on eBay, which is obviously a lot more pricey than the $3.50 for the current Prang colors. But they are vintage. They're old, so the price difference is more of a scarcity because they're so scarce versus actual quality, obviously, because they're technically supposed to be the same quality. But they definitely, since they changed this formula, I would say they're slightly higher quality. So that's really interesting. Here we go. So you can mix some really nice secondary colors here. Very, very clean and vibrant secondary colors. So that looks very good. Now let's do a similar thing with the current Prang. Ooh, I got a lot more paint on this one. The other thing that you didn't see, because I didn't videotape that part. When I was swatching out the new ones, it was harder to lift the paint off the pans. It was a lot harder. I had to scrub a lot more. I mean, they lift pretty well overall, but it was harder. It was a lot easier to lift the paint from the pans from the 1960s. You would think they're so old that it would be hard to lift them, but they're not hard to lift at all. So these new Prang one, what I'm finding is that, yeah, it's just getting a little bit muddier than you see the orange, how it got all muddy, versus the 1960s Prang is a lot cleaner, that mix. I mean, don't get me wrong, these Prang from 2017 are still good and great for practicing. I've been using them for a couple of years, but they definitely are not as vibrant. I mean, look at how muted that red is, and the purple. Oh, I had to mix the purple. Let me mix the purple over here. And sorry, this circle is looking really lopsided. It's not that straight, but it's fine. You get the point. I need a little bit more blue here because it just doesn't look. There we go. So I think, I mean, let's wait till it dries, but these look so much more vibrant. These, I mean, they're probably all made with dyes. They're not made with pigments because they're so cheap, but I don't know what they did. Maybe they have more filler now. I don't know. But I also wanted to do another test, which is a wet on wet test. So I just wanted to wet the paper here and drop a few just drops of color to see how it moves around the page. So I'm gonna do blue and red. Just want to see how they, how it travels, and do the same. Oops, let me get clean water first. With the page, I'm gonna do blue. Ooh, maybe I got too much water on this. That's why it's traveling so much. I don't know. We'll do some red. And here we go. Okay. So we'll let that sit and see what happens. And then I painted 2 layers here of the same colors, yellow, orange, and I want to do a layering test just to see how these layer. So I'm just going to pick let's pick their green because we haven't used that one, and I'm going to just switch it up to here. And I'm going to do just a layer of green here. And I think I actually scrubbed it too much. I did it like 3 times, so I think I lifted the paint from the bottom. And just so you know, the paper that I'm using is Canson XL. I'll list all the materials I'm using in the bottom, in the comment section, so you can see that. And let's layer a different color. Let's layer this purple. Yes, this purple is really strong, so hopefully we can see through it. Oh, there we go. Try to not put too much in my brush so it doesn't take over. Okay. So I think these layers just as well. With this one, I think I went back and forth too many times, so I lifted the paint. This one was just one swipe. They both layer very well. I think I did this one too wet, so I again lifted too much paint. But overall, this didn't lift at all from the bottom. This one, see how with the water, excess water, it started lifting the orange. So that's interesting. It seems like the current Prang layers are a little bit better. I don't know. I get the feeling. Let me try one more just to make sure. I'm gonna do red. Just one swipe of red. See, it's starting to lift. The orange is starting to lift. Huh, that's interesting. So maybe the 2007 Prang has better layering capabilities. So that's really interesting. Yeah, this one layer is great. Like you can see the bottom layer is intact and it's very transparent so you can see right through. These one, the bottom layer, they all like started lifting off. So that's a bit of a problem. And the yellow also started lifting off. So okay, so maybe they did improve the formula somehow and they have better layering now than they used to. So yeah, that's it. I mean, I hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know in the comments below, have you tried vintage paints? Have you tried paints that are a lot older than this? I know on eBay they sell paints that are from the 1920s, sometimes the 1800s. You can find all kinds of things. So it's really interesting. And I was kind of blown away by how good these 1960s Prang set is, how much more vibrant. Now that the color mixing wheel is dry, you can see how much more vibrant the mixes are and clean the colors are. You can always, like if you have bright colors like these, you can always tone them down. But when you have more muted colors, you can't really make them brighter. So it's always nicer to have brighter colors that you can then mute down if you want to, but you can use brighter colors as well. So it gives you more options having brighter colors. So that's good. The layering is a concern, but if you're practicing with these and just doing, you know, hand lettering practice or other like sketching that doesn't require too many layers, perhaps then these might be fine. But you have to keep in consideration if you're using these that you will lift off like layers in the bottom. So that's something to keep in mind. With the new Prang, they are more muted and less vibrant, but they layer excellent. Like they just have excellent layering capabilities for a scholastic grade paint. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you liked it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'll be posting more videos shortly. I'll try to post at least once a week, if not once every 2 weeks. Let me know if you want to see any other videos about reviews or any other watercolor related things. All right, thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you next time.